Hello and welcome to the Rabbit Hole with me, Graham Hughes, and Rachel Harris. How you doing, Rachel? How you doing, Rach? You
Oh,
okay?
the usual in the UK,
Yeah.
trans in the UK, such fun, but otherwise really good.
Well, I got to see what's her name?
Hey, Nash.
Kate Nash at the weekend. She was fantastic. And
It
whoever
was.
was on before Kate Nash, because I was sitting outside the left field tent waiting for Kat to come back with some
Yeah.
food, and they started the chant of Fuck JK Rowling,
Hey, excellent. I
and
did.
people were
Did you
doing
go to
that.
see Blur? Was it no Blur? Pulp.
Of course, I went to see Pulp. One of my favourite bands. I was
I, I,
right at the
I,
front.
well, it was funny because I told you BBC Sounds. They were there was a bit when Kate Nash's performance had a bit of sound problem, and of course that's the bit the BBC Sounds clipped, not the neon, not the Germ song.
Yeah.
And in Pulp, it was quite funny when they sweep across the crowds, but there were a lot of trans and LGBT flags in the crowd. So the BBC cameraman sort of bumping, it feels like he's bumping over the flags.
I got in trouble. I got in trouble with one of the
I heard.
cameramen came over and said, "Would you mind just moving a bit to the right because it's getting in the way and it says fuck on it." And I was like, "Well, it doesn't really." And he's like, "Yeah, but what I was thinking of maybe next year, like Mad Foldings. Do you remember them in the back of Mad magazine? They used to have these
Yeah.
things that you fold them in a certain way. It made a different picture. They were very, very clever. If we're gonna do something with a flag where it's something completely innocent, but when it's sort of fluttering, the letters kind of can spell out rude words.
Nice.
And that's what I
Uh,
think I'm gonna do next time."
yeah, I like that. I like that. So when you were down there, you weren't in a tent. You were staying in a B&B, Airbnb nearby and going in each day. Was that what you were doing?
No, 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 we were saying a tent.
You were in a tent. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
But
All
on
right.
the Sunday night, the friends of ours who were there with us, they did have an Airbnb in
Ah,
Glastonbury town.
yeah.
And at like midnight, they went, "Do you want to come stay at ours and charge all your stuff?" Like, honestly, I didn't care about having a shower at this point. I just needed to charge all my stuff because
We
I
all
had
did.
two mobile phones, I had my camera, I had my laptop, I had all this stuff, all this kit with me, and it desperately needed charging. So I was like, "Yeah, sure," but it took us about 3 hours to get off the site. Oh my god, it's huge. There's a
Yeah.
website that does like map overlay of Glastonbury, and you can put it on your hometown, so you can just see how massive it is, and it's in freaking insane. If I put it on where I am in Durham, it's
Yeah.
like the other side. We're at the top of a hill, and it's all the valley and up to the next top hill. It's just
Yeah.
crazy
It's amazing. I mean,
how
I
big it
really,
is.
I really enjoyed your broadcast because it was just like I've never been, but
Mm,
now seen them. I said to my wife, we should maybe we should go. I mean, I'm a bit old, so I wouldn't be camping, but I'd find a really nice. I'd like one of those big American beep 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 beep,
yeah,
legs out, shower. So
yeah.
but I definitely would find a way of doing it that would be comforting for my old bones. But I
You
just
take a camper van, take a
yeah.
big Winnebago,
Yeah, I
you
will.
know,
That's exactly what I would do.
an
Yeah.
Airstream caravan. Oh
Yeah.
my god,
Big,
those things are
big,
gorgeous.
yeah, the biggest fuck off one I could find.
It's one of those like when we talk about aesthetics, like they
Yeah,
just had things that looked boss in like the 1930s, 40s, well the 20s, 30s.
yeah,
Actually, the first half of the 20th century, so you had Art
yeah,
Nouveau, Art Deco, and then you
yeah,
had that sort of what was it called, the sort of space age styling in the
yeah,
1950s, and then you compare like cars, motorbikes, caravans in the 50s when
yeah.
things looked really cool to stuff they made in the 80s, which was just boxes on wheels, like literally
No,
falling apart at all the seams.
mind you, that's an age thing though, because I watch a lot of car stuff, people resurrections, and there are guys who are young millennials doing up 90s cars, and they love them. And it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
I got a mate who loves his Citroens, and I just don't get it.
yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah. I mean, everyone's loyal to their brand, but I mean, I just thought it would be a nice thing to do to go down and do that. I think it would be an experience. Before I might, I leave this mortal coil, is
yeah.
do a glass day with my wife, and we do it in comfort. That'll be it. It's got to be
Uh,
done.
I think my dad's shit joke about Citroens is Citroens have traction avant and Renaults haven't. Just a shite joke. Anyway, a big shout out to everyone in the chat. We've got Diz in there, got Pete's Music, got Doc 4x4, blah blah CW as well. Colin is in there. Hi Colin. Hi Gainer. Hi Trip. Hi, Oliver. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can. You can't. Oh, my subscribe button's not working. You can't join the chat because we don't let you.
Hey.
But yeah,
Well, there's
Glastonbury
a
was
trans person in the channel. Everybody run!
Glastonbury was phenomenal. Very LGBTQIA
Yeah, that's the other reason I
plus
wanna go.
friendly, like incredibly so.
Yeah.
There's a sign on the wall that says trans rights are human rights, big friendly letters, lots of gay flags.
Yeah.
I saw a trans band. There was a trans band playing,
Excellent.
BBC introducing, which was really cool.
Ooh.
And yeah, it's a peace and love kind of festival, unless
Yeah.
you're the IDF. But we won't talk about that.
Yeah, we
tonight.
better not do that. Yeah.
No politics. But yeah, it's really funny.
Free speech in it. You know.
Oh
Guardian
no, it's only free speech when it suits them.
Absolute free speech. Absolute free speech on university sites now.
Only
That was
when it
what the
suits
Guardian
them.
was saying. So
Yeah.
you can say what you like now because it's free speech, isn't it?
Free speech in it. Yeah. Dark 4x4 says, I've seen 28 Years Later. Brilliant film. So I went to see it last week. Right. And I'm very glad that I went to see it just before Glastonbury because it's bonkers. It is brilliant. It is one of the best films I've seen for a while. I've seen a few good films this year. Yeah. And like I said the other day, I was talking to Mikey about it because Americans apparently don't like it because they don't get it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're British, you will definitely get it.
Excellent. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I know the sort of the metaphor that he's setting it.
Yeah. So the way I'll describe it, spoiler free, is this: most zombie films, they ask the question, "What if zombies?" The answer is run the fuck away. That's it. That's the end of the story. This asks, what if the UK was cut off from the rest of the world for 28 years? Yeah. No sat phones, no internet, no communication with the outside world. What would it look like after 28 years?
Trump's America. Yeah.
It's not Trump's America. It's a very British, peculiarly British. Yes.
Excellent.
It's like, hello, I'm the gentleman cannibal. Pleased to meet you. Would you like to come and have some tea before I skin you alive and eat you? Oh, splendid. That's not what happens. I'm just giving an example of what it is. Fucking bonkers.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
No spoilers in the chat, please. But like at the end, it's not a twist as such. It's just like, what the fuck just happened? And apparently there's going to be another film coming out in January, the sequel.
Excellent. The trilogy.
Yeah, they're going to have another 2.
Excellent. It was a stepping stone actually, because I was watching a program when I was preparing this. I was watching, watching us. You know how YouTube you go down. It was the zombie problem in films, and the zombie problem in films, which is not a plot hole, but it's a problem with zombies, is that they walk so fucking slowly, and you go, oh, zombie. I'm gonna have to run in a minute, And so speed zombies and then speed zombies solved the zombie problem in World War Z and 28 days they can run, and now they're scary.
Yeah. 28 Days wasn't the first to do fast zombies, but it was the first sort of mainstream one that we had doing fast zombies. I'm glad that I saw that just for because Glastonbury's bonkers. Glastonbury's the bloody Wicker Man.
Yeah.
Fantastic weather. I'm all sunburnt.
Well, you would burn in 8 seconds. You're saying to me.
I know.
I've already burnt, and I've been inside for the last 3 days.
I had to have my body out at one point because it was just like I've got to have to walk around like a geisha, like spinning my umbrella just to keep the sun off me.
We enjoyed your wedding. We enjoyed the wedding.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to put my stone on, haven't I? Hang on. There we go. Got my stone. Got me fucking stone.
Did you do that for free, or did you have to slip her a tenner?
Did it for free? I don't know. We just walked off. I supposedly normally charge, but she was like, oh,
yeah.
And Catherine was like, what is going on, Graham? And I'm like, oh. And then afterwards, she's like, I'm really glad we did that. I wish there wasn't 100 people watching, but it's like, it's so typical of our relationship. Like I'm like incredibly spontaneous. I just go, yeah, that'll be fun, and just go and do stuff. And Catherine is very, she needs to plan things in advance.
Yeah, me too.
She doesn't like surprises. So yeah.
I like surprises.
But yeah, Pulp. I've got to say, one of the best gigs I've ever been to.
Good.
Pulp
I
at
watched,
Glastonbury.
a bit of it this afternoon.
Because I'll tell you why. In 1995, when they played, right, even if I had been there, I wouldn't have known Sorted for Ease and Wiz, and I wouldn't have known Disco 2000 because they hadn't been released. That was the first time they played those songs in Glastonbury in 1995. When they headlined again in 1998, it was the Sunday. I was there, and everyone was caked in mud. Blur played the night before. I had to leave the mosh pit because it was like it was a mud bath, and it was horrible because people were trying to dance and jump up and down and stuff, and they slip over and they try and pick them up, and it's like, you know, trying to pick someone up when they're covered in grease or something. I don't know. Well,
Only on a Saturday
mud.
night.
Yeah, just absolutely covered in mud, and they just slip through your fingers, and you try and catch, and it was exhausting. The Pulp gig, everyone was exhausted. It was the Sunday night. Everyone was covered in mud, and it was just after This Is Hardcore. It wasn't their second album, but it's the second album. You know, we had His and Hers, and we had not Countdown, Separations, and It before then, I think. But yeah, it wasn't their second album, but it was seen as sort of like their second big album. And it was a bit of a comeback. It was like the day after the revolution. The songs were a little bit downbeat compared with a different class. Yeah. And so they played a lot of songs from that. They played The Fear, you know, these songs like about dealing with fame and blah, blah, blah. So it was a bit of a downbeat gig. Yeah. I mean, it was good. It was fun.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Did Michael Jackson try and jump the stage, you know?
Yeah. But then we were 27 years later.
Yeah.
I could make a film called that, couldn't you? And it was just absolutely joyous because of the fact that everyone knew the songs. Yep. The weather was amazing.
Yep.
Jarvis was like really confident. He wasn't like
really good.
Yeah. It was just like going back in time.
Yeah.
And everyone was singing along. There were so many people in the field. It was crazy. And to have the build up, like we didn't really know whether it was Pulp or not. We did. The rumors were very, very strong before they came on. And it was really magical. It was really magical for an old school.
You didn't know who it was going to be till they walked out on stage then?
Well, no, I mean, we'd heard rumors.
It could have been the Flying Pickets.
Yes. Well, the rumors were Haim, or it was going to be. Some people said that it was going to be Chapel Roan. Yeah, because she'd put up a picture of her holding a patchwork thing when she was a kid. But no, when they came out, what they did was they got these people to just stand in front of the stage, all wearing alternating black and white rain ponchos. Which is a bit weird because it wasn't raining. And then they stood in a line, and people came behind them, stood in a line a bit above them, so we couldn't actually see Jarvis and Nick and Candida and Steve coming on stage. So it was just phenomenal. And I also saw Wolf Alice, which was amazing. Tears, honestly, just Tears. They're just brilliant. That's my favorite band. They also played their new song, which is called The Sofa, which is really catchy. It's kind of been stuck in my head all day. I got the set list. I got Ellie's set list at the end.
Yeah, amazing.
It's really cool. It's just behind the camera there. I'll put it on the wall.
Have you ever seen the Tindersticks play it? Have they ever played Glastonbury?
Yes, they have. A very long time ago.
Yeah.
I think in the 90s they played. I mean, they might have played since then, but I do have some recollection of seeing the Tindersticks at Glastonbury.
I've seen them live a couple of times. I really like them, but
they're another band that bring me to tears. I mean, you can imagine like me with Traveling Light. That's like my theme tune.
Oh yeah, Traveling Light. There's that black and white video I sent you on YouTube where they do it in a little studio, which is amazing. They're all sitting down and they're all sort of grungy Gen X's with all their wrinkles, and they're all in their really kind of all casual, and they're all sort of in bohemian clothing, and I was like, yeah, that's us now. That was very good.
What? I'm sure I've seen Tindersticks live. What years did Tindersticks play Glastonbury? Yeah, 2004. I saw them in 2004. They played 1994, 2004, 2009. I wouldn't have seen them in 1994 because I wasn't old enough. And then 2009, I was traveling around the world.
Hey.
But yeah, and the Supergrass played. That was a blast from the past.
Yeah.
We had the Kaiser Chiefs, who were always really fun, just like really energetic. Ricky just runs around like a lunatic. Go and see
Great.
Ash was fantastic. Got to be behind the stage, at the back side of the stage.
Yeah, mate.
Got to meet Greg Davis and Alex Horn.
Yeah.
That was
Go
really
to bed.
nice. We got Alec. We got Greg to record a message for the girls when they won't go to bed.
Mm,
In his headmaster from the In-Betweeners mode. It was very funny. We showed it to them last night. We were like, come on, it's 9:30. You got to go to bed. And they're like, oh, we want to stay up. And I went, look, I've got a message from Greg here. And he says, hello, says their names. And he says, now go to bed, you little shits. Which was really fun. And yeah, it was just, I don't know. I'll defend Glastonbury to the hilt. I find a lot of people who don't like Glastonbury either went once and it was muddy, which is kind of fair enough. I'll forgive them. But the people who've never been and they just go, I hate it. It's shit. And you're like, well, could you give it a go? Could you possibly give it a go?
Yeah.
And there's all musical taste. I saw 9 Inch Nails.
I think you should put together a survivor guide for your first Glastonbury. Clip it up and say a little bit, because it's really useful. I watched it and thought, oh, I don't mind going to that. I had my nephew was there. He was looking for you. I told him, you'd have the woke as fuck the hat, and I sent him a photograph, and he said he could look out, and I said definitely be at Kate Nash. And so I was wandering around, but I don't think he didn't catch you, but because apparently there were a few people at Glastonbury this year.
There were a few people, yeah. I did run into some old friends though, which was nice. But other people that I knew that were there, and we shared our details on the Glastonbury app, and we never ended up meeting up.
Yeah.
Amy Walker saying Alex Little Horn. The mad thing about Alex Horn is he's not that little. Like, he's the same height as me. He's just little compared with Greg Davis, because Greg Davis is a fucking giant. So this was Alex Horn's first Glastonbury. He'd never been before.
Oh wow!
And he was telling us that he was a bit nervous. It was really fun. I think I said when I was talking to Wally last night, Alec Horn's wife is a huge Ash fan, and so she the first gig she ever went to was Ash, and so they say, well, what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, I'm Ash's flag bearer, and the band hadn't turned up at that point backstage, and then they turned up, and I'm like, hey, they're waving at me, and then Mark from the band comes over and says, all right, Craig. I'm like, all right, Mark, how you doing? And he's there with his girlfriend, who I know Mark through Becca, and she's like, oh my god, this Alex Horn. I'm like, oh my god, he's a huge fan. So I got to put everyone together and say, right, Craig's Alex's wife. This is Mark from Ash, and Becca, this is Alex Horn, and everyone's like, ooh, fangirling. It was really cool. Who was it
that came on the Politics Social on Friday night? Was that you had from Ash? We had somebody on from.
No, well, I was at TerraVision. TerraVision just started to play.
Yeah.
I was sitting at the back. It was nice and quiet. I found a quiet place, and then it was like 9:30 on the dot. TerraVision, get on the stage.
On the Friday. No, I meant on the Friday night social. We had somebody from Ash came on one night, didn't they? On the social on a Friday.
No, that was Gomez. That was Tom. That was Tom Gray from Gomez.
What you meant before he did the Muppets? Boom, boom.
Hey, no, it's not good. No. I'm sure Mark sometimes watches this show, so maybe we can get him on at some point.
Yeah, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Rick, the drummer, is part of one of our politics groups. I think he's part of the Moving Forward politics group.
All right, yeah.
Or at least he was. So yeah, no, it was really fun. I had breakfast with Tony from TerraVision the next morning. I was like sitting next to him, and he was having a chat with someone about, like, I don't know, tennis elbow. The guy's like, what's wrong with you? And like Tony from TerraVision's like looking at his arm, and it was like that bit in it's like the bit in Wayne's World, with Danny the roadie, where he's kind of just like, I am the font of all knowledge.
Oh, I like that guy. I like that character. We and also he wouldn't go on without his M&Ms. So we broke into the sweet shop. And we beat the sweet shop owner to death with his own shoe, but we got the M&Ms, and Ozzy went on.
Instead of having a guard dog, they had a guard Bengal tiger. It's a bit like that. And it turns out that Tony from TerraVision given the choice, he would actually grab a tent and join them.
Oh,
There you go, little snippet
there we
for you
go.
there. We got super chat in. We're just talking amongst ourselves here. This isn't even the topic of the show.
We're not plot holes yet.
Sarah says, have a chat. Thanks, Sarah. Cheers. I think we're having a chat, aren't we?
Just having a chat, you know.
Yeah.
I don't get out much.
Moonwalker didn't make sense. If he was a spaceship the entire time, why didn't he fly away before? I've not seen Moonwalker. Does he play a spaceship? That's quite funny. And Philip says, as for plot holes that bother me, effective, I can actually remember any at the moment. There are many, though. Maybe they'll come back to me.
I've got 15. I've got 15.
So we start cracking on because we're 26 minutes in.
Yeah. So we'll go through quite pacey. I'll leave it to you decide, is it a plot hole or a mistake, and has it been corrected? Okay, so I got 15. I went through 5 or 6 articles, IMDb database, loads of other stuff like that, and came up with the common most 15. So there's millions of others. If everybody's got any in the chat or they don't agree with them, that would be great. But the first one and the most famous plot hole is Rosebud.
Rosebud. Nobody hears him say Rosebud.
Nobody hears him say Rosebud. So there you go. Well done.
So film opens on Charles Foster Kane, his dying words, Rosebud, and then he drops the snow globe.
Yeah.
And then there's a wonderful match dissolved to a snowy day when he was a child. Why was his last word Rosebud? Well, who knows? Because he drops the thing, doesn't he? And then the woman, his maid, comes running in. I think there's a little bit. Maybe someone heard him. Maybe he's in the middle of doing a podcast.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah,
could have been. But yeah, we won't say what Rosebud is. But essentially, the plot of Citizen Kane is trying to suss out why his last word was Rosebud. It's a bit like Immortal Beloved with Gary Oldman playing Beethoven, where it's like, why? Who's the immortal beloved that he gave all his money to? So solve the mystery. And tell the life story of the character while you do it. So yeah, that is a famous plot hole.
Famous plot hole. Yeah, we'll get some more subtle ones hopefully. So we talked about this before. Raiders of the Lost Ark, 2 plot holes. First one being, if he didn't do anything, the Nazis would have all died anyway. Secondly, halfway through he has the medals and he goes, God damn it, the Nazis are digging in the wrong place. Ha ha ha. Well, of course, if he'd just taken the medallion and disappeared, they would have continued to dig in the wrong place for the whole film, never found the art. And again, the Americans could have gone back after the war and got it.
Well, that is true. Yeah. However, I think the worry was that they would find it.
Ah, right. Okay.
So I got a better plot hole for you.
Go on.
He gets on a submarine, doesn't he? Do you remember when they kidnap?
Yeah,
Marion,
he jumps onto
a submarine, and it pisses off to like Crete or somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? From Egypt.
How does he survive that?
How does he survive?
Yeah. Well, it might just below the surface, and he might have been.
This might happen a few times in this show, but it is a plot hole that was explained in the script of the film. It does show him climbing in and punching a Nazi and then taking his clothes.
We've got a couple of other ones like this where the actors have gone, hang on a minute, this is a plot hole, and the director said, fuck off, we're going to do it anyway. And
yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Raiders, the poster problem in the Shawshank Redemption.
Well, it's just attached at the top. So if you're not seeing the Shawshank Redemption, I can't.
We are going to learn a lot of plot holes in this.
The spoilers. There's going to be spoilers at this point, right? Yeah. There is a poster of Bridget Bardot. Is it Bridget Bardot in 10,000 BC?
Yeah.
Fuzzy Britches. And I think what's the idea is that he stuck it up at the top, but the bottom is just hanging. So as he gets in, he just lifts it up and then he goes in and then he
but it looked but and this is your plot hole. He throws a stone at it and it goes through, and it would have to be taut.
Would it though?
He did. He threw a thing, and
if it was secure at the top and then it wasn't secure at the bottom, and it was over a big, and you threw a stone really hard because you were super angry.
Well, it might. I mean, it's a
It's a great moment though where he puts his hand through, and oh god, just that moment of like, oh my god, he did it. Better plot hole, right? Same movie.
Yep.
He's got the rock, and he hits the shit pipe to get in, and when he breaks through, all this shit flies up, doesn't it?
Yep.
So that shows that the pipe should be under pressure.
Yeah.
And yet when he's seen,
Yeah, it's a hollow aim to open
when
pipe.
he's getting that, he's just in a little bit of poo. He isn't in like.
Yeah.
So how would it
He
be under
crawled
pressure?
through what
It shouldn't
100
have.
yards of what I can't describe.
It shouldn't have spurted.
Shouldn't have spurted.
Okay.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Can we see if they've got any in the chat that are coming in? They might overlap.
Yeah.
What have we got here? But it doesn't matter if it was truly his last word. Kane is about the press narrative about celebrity, says Ernie, talking about Citizen Kane. Can't argue with that. In Raiders, Indy does everything to stop them getting the arc. They get it anyway. If he did nothing, they would have gotten it. That in the end, they all die anyway. Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, they would have probably got it in the end if he hadn't done anything. But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
How's he based?
Raiders of the Lost Ark is a silly film. Do you take that back?
Well, they're all a bit funny, aren't they? I mean, okay, that's good. No, it's valid. I think it's all funny. I mean, it was number 4 that was everyone hated because it was aliens. The other 3 were believable, right? But the aliens, bridge too far.
Oh, that was awful. Yeah, and then the 5th one had time traveling.
Well, there was came up on the plot holes. I didn't list it, but it was why he wants to stay in the past, and she knocks him out, and then he wakes up in his house. How did she get him back? It's not really a plot hole, but it's a sort of, well, how did she get him back?
Ridiculous.
So contradiction then, the Karate Kid.
This is actually on the thumbnail of this video.
Oh, great.
It says specifically in the rules, when they're saying the rules in the movie, no kicks to the face. And Daniel-san wins with a kick to the face.
Apparently, it says decades later, this plot hole was a tongue-in-cheek.
Cobra
Kai.
Yeah, Cobra Kai TV show. Honestly, if I can recommend daft TV show to just watch with the one that you love and just have a giggle because it's just so daft. Doesn't take itself seriously at all, but it's a really good TV show. Cobra Kai is fucking awesome. It it's just demented and fun and silly and hilarious, and it's just I just loved it. But yeah, he did make the point. He went, but you cheated. Like, you weren't supposed to kick in the face. I don't even know why you won that.
Brilliant. Well, that's a plot hole that was corrected by a subsequent.
Well, yes. So can we talk another one that was corrected afterwards?
Go on.
Death Star. Why was it so easy to blow up the Death Star?
Oh, yeah.
That is a great plot hole from the original Star Wars movie, which was explained in a brilliant way. Not in a like, why is your surname Solo? Oh, I just had to think of a name and I was on my own. Fuck off. This is explained in a brilliant way that the guy who designed it didn't want to make a space weapon that could destroy planets. And so he purposefully made a back door so you could hack into the system and blow the bastard up. So I like the fact that they retrofitted that plot hole.
I liked it in Blue Harvest where the baby's playing Darth Vader and he goes, "It's great. We have this indestructible Death Star. Yes, we almost do, sir." Sorry, what was that? Nothing. Almost. Well, there's this small hole, and he goes, "Well, I think that's kind of important. You might have mentioned that. Well, it'll be fine. I think we're going to get it boarded up. Get me estimates."
They just put a bit of plating over the top. It would have been fine.
Let me jump ahead to Star Wars. The big plot that came up in all the documents that I read was the Obi-Wan Kenobi hiding Luke Skywalker baby. Where did he take him? To Anakin Skywalker's planet. Where did they leave him? With Anakin Skywalker's uncle. Yeah, not going to look there.
In my rewrite of the prequel trilogy, they don't go to Tatooine. In fact, Luke's dad does not see Owen after the first half of the first movie in the trilogy. Yeah. They go their separate ways quite acrimoniously, but it's the only family he's got. They're not really family, and he says, take the baby, hide the baby somewhere in the outer rim, miles from anywhere. Like Luke says, if there's a bright center of the universe, this is the planet that it's farthest from, which makes fucking sense. But yeah.
It's Anakin's planet.
I think a worse plot hole is the fact that Darth Vader made C-3PO. Oh, I'm a slave. Mum, do you know what would be really helpful? What would be really helpful, son? Well, I thought I'd make me a gay butler droid, to make you cups of tea and shit. And his mum's like, we're slaves. How about you make a fucking killer robot that just kills our fucking slave owners, and we can go and fucking go free. One that can fly spaceships, and we'll fuck off onto another planet. Hey, how about that, Anakin? No, it's got to be an incredibly gay, prissy droid that is a butler. And that was the mad thing in the prequels. Instead of the butler droid being Princess Leia's, which makes sense because she's a princess, why wouldn't she have a gay butler droid? They did it the other way around. Like R2-D2 was hers, and then
the vibrator door,
and Darth Vader made C-3PO, and it's like,
yeah. I think we're overthinking it, but I think I get the frustration. Oh my goodness! Let's throw in a simple one then. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
Why the eagles fly?
Just fly the eagles there, and the end of the film.
Actually, John Ronald Reuel Tolkien himself did actually write about this plot hole. What he said was, they are not a taxi service. They are not a taxi service for Middle Earth. But also pointed out they are a great race in their own right, and also that it would have attracted a Nazgul to them, and the Nazgul had the flying fell beast, so they could have had battles in the sky, which would have been devastating. Also, as a powerful race of beings on Middle Earth, the ring might have corrupted them as well. It might have got too heavy for them to fly it to Mount Doom.
Yeah, but they could have. You could, yeah, but Frodo or whatever could have worn the ring and ridden the eagle.
Yeah, but then the temptation would have been.
But 9 of them could have ridden. The Fellowship could have all got on 9 eagles and flown.
Why didn't he just throw the ring into the deep blue ocean? And there was a reason for that as well. It just said, well, it'll, there's magical creatures, there's magical sea creatures.
Find a
what
way.
If a kraken got the ring? When, hey, I'm now an invisible kraken. You're all fucked, aren't you? It would have got back to its owner eventually.
Okay, fair enough.
That's the excuse there. But there's a famous movie. I think it's called Stagecoach. John Ford Western.
Yeah.
And the whole movie is this. It's like the Mad Max of the Wild West films. The cowboy movies. And it's this stagecoach, which is being attacked. And it's like, why don't you just shoot the horses? They're firing all these arrows at the stagecoach when you shoot the horses. And when John Ford was asked this, he said, because that would have been a very short movie.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of that in a few of these ones I'm coming up with, the direct to end, because the script says that's why I shot it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Wizard of Oz plot hole. Your favorite film?
She got a little bit of water on her. I'm melting. Who would have thought a small amount of water would ever land on me?
Well, Dorothy had the power to return home at the beginning of the film.
Yes, but that's why I love them. I love The Wizard of Oz as an atheist.
Yeah,
as a bit of a militant atheist, I love The Wizard of Oz because I see it as not a Christian parable like Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and not a Muslim or Jewish or Hindu or Buddhist fable. It's not. It is an atheist fable in which these 4 characters are wandering around asking God for magical powers. They want things, right? And God turns out to not be an actual God. It's just a guy behind the curtain pulling levers and pretending to be something that he's not. And then he says to them, you had the power to do all these things all along. You had the power to be brave. You had the power to have a heart. You had the power to use your brains. You had the power to go home all along.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, humans have the power to do this crazy shit.
Power.
It's like the opposite of the parable of the Tower of Babel from the Bible, in which the people of Genesis, I think it was Genesis, they try and build this massive tower,
Yeah.
And the reason given in the Bible is because at that time, all humans were speaking the same language. And God looked down and said, well, if this is what they can achieve when they all work together, speaking the same language, I will, and nothing will be impossible for them. So therefore, I will confuse them and give them all different languages. And that's why we have different languages.
Why you got
God was a bit scared of the big tower that we built.
We'll get the Babel fish in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Babel fish, yeah. We got predestination, and that's not really that's more of a loophole. Have you seen predestination? with
I did a long
Ethan
time ago.
Hawke. I think it is.
Yeah,
Spoilers if you've not seen it,
yeah.
but it's
The
a,
whole
it's a,
this whole hour is a spoiler.
it's a time loop. It's a
Yeah,
time loop.
yeah. Okay. So we talked about this last week, and you said there was an explanation for this, but this appeared in all the plot holes, which was Independence Day that his laptop interfaced with the
Yes.
alien ship. Now you said, oh well, they had the ship in the
Is that the way I talk? Do I talk like this? Well, actually, in the
I
original
don't want to do a
script,
Liverpool accent because that'd be racist.
they went to Roswell because these same aliens, and a scout transport that went out to see what lands they could steal, what planets they could take over, crash landed in Roswell, and they used alien technology to build the first Apple computer.
Yeah, okay. I there might be an element in that, but in the film, he said all the little devices started turning on when they turned up. So at that point, they had the ship since the 1950s,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't have known how to interact with the. They had about a week to work out how all the little things worked, and so I think, and Jeff Goldblum rocks up, and he's there a couple of days before he goes, "Oh, let's get in a ship with Will Smith and go up and online interface my laptop." I can't interface my laptop with with bloody Spotify.
What's really frustrating about that plot hole, though, is a line. You could have got rid of it with a line, which makes sense. Oh no, we've had their technology for 50 years, and this is what we base computers on because we based it on alien technology.
Perfect. That would have fixed it.
Yeah. Same with the time turners in Harry Potter. Like, they could have just said, oh, they were all destroyed. There was only one in existence. Hermione had it so she could do more work for some fucking reason. That was a bit odd. God, it's got to be great when you got a black Hermione going, well, maybe these elves want to be slaves. Is she going to say that line out loud? No, dear. Black Hermione. These elves like to be slaves. They like to be treated like shit and not get paid for their job. And Black Hermione's going to go, oh, okay. That's what's going to happen in the new HBO TV series, Harry Potter, that no one's going to watch because we all hate J.K. Rowling.
Right. Okay.
Luke having the same surname, L.
That would give it away.
That gives it away, doesn't it? You were once Anakin Skywalker, man. Well, oh, fucking hell, you've hidden yourself very well. Also, Obi-Wan Kenobi changes his name to Ben Kenobi.
Oh,
that'll fool them.
Oh.
I'm looking for an old man who everyone thinks is a bit weird and a bit of a hermit.
Lives on his
own. Might be a wizard. Lives on his own. Surname Kenobi. Oh, he's there.
Old Ben Kenobi up in the hills. Was a good friend.
Here's a plot hole. So I mentioned this, I think, a few weeks ago. Arnie in Terminator is a plot hole for me. It's just so stupid. Why would they send back? In Terminator 2, it makes more sense because he looks like Robert Patrick. He looks like a normal person, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to try and infiltrate society, why would you send someone... Send a robot that looks like Robin fucking Williams,
Yeah.
Send a robot that looks like Cameron Diaz. And she could knock on your door and you'd be like, oh, hello. And she'd be like, hi, are you Sarah Connor? And she'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
See you later. But no, it's Arnie. Sticking out like a sore thumb. Hey, I have DK files.
I need your boots, your coat, and your motorcycle.
On closer inspection, these are loafers. Anyway.
Your underpants are very tight.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on then. Halloween, Michael Myers plot hole. So
how does he drive?
How does he drive? Well done.
That was actually cleared up in a sequel to Halloween, where it explained that one of the nurses in the mental institute that he was in actually taught him to drive as a child.
Right.
Because someone pointed out that it was really daft that he was supposed to be there since he was a little kid.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that explains that away. I mean, this is interesting that you've got explanations for these. This is hilarious. Okay. Back to the Future plot hole.
Oh, throw them at me. Go on.
Well, he introduces his mother to his father at the Big Enchanted Under the Disco dance, and they hit it off. He comes back. He grows up. They don't recognize him.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty. Hey, you look exactly like the guy that introduces at the sea under the door.
Yeah, but they didn't have a photo of him. And I don't know, 30. I think about like people new in school now. And they were people that I went to school with for 7 years. I could barely remember them.
I can remember all the people that I got. Well, my memory's almost not photographic.
He was only there for a couple of days. There was a guy who I always used to meet at festivals who always got really upset with me for not remembering who he was. I was like, "Oh, hi, I'm Graham." He's like, "Yes, Graham, I know. We've met 7 times before." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry."
Yeah, that's you. I mean, he introduced them, and he invented rock and roll.
He did invent rock and roll.
Well,
which kind of took it away from Chuck Berry there, didn't it?
Kind of a little bit.
Little bit. Thanks for that. No, it was a white guy. You thought this was a black music. No, it was a white guy who invented it. That's a bigger plot hole.
Yeah, that's very true. That is a bit of a plot hole. So there was, that was the major,
But
can't really argue.
I love the fact that so many of the things that are set up in Back to the Future are paid off. Like that line at the very beginning where he's Strickland. What's the name of the guy who runs the school? Is it
Strickland.
Yeah. And he says, "No McFly has ever amounted to anything in the history of Hill Valley." And he says, "Yeah, but history's going to change." Just like, come on, foreshadowing. But it's just such a tight script.
Yeah,
it trots along, and there is no fat. There is no fat. There's some deleted scenes which make things make more sense that just happen in the movie, but you wouldn't notice them being taken away. But here's a plot hole. Why is a teenage kid hanging around with a crazy old man?
Yeah, true.
And why in the 80s?
In more innocent times, we didn't know about, paedophiles and stuff back in the 80s. We know about them now because they're all on social media and, and politicians and stuff. But we didn't know about them then. So it was kind of, oh, isn't it sweet? The old scientist helping the young boy.
I just love this idea that in the 80s, everyone was a mad scientist. Yeah. And you could just create things being a mad scientist, like the fusion reactors that they have on the backpacks and in Ghostbusters. It's like I just make a time machine. They're talking about like how long it's taken Iran to enrich this uranium for a bomb, and like Doc Brown's like, I'll just
steal it,
stab it in me, me cooker. Now I've got enriched uranium, Marty. Hurrah! 1.21 gigawatts of electricity, Marty.
Amazing. Weirdly, my wife and I are watching. We watched this because I'm a bit of a car buff, and we watched this thing called Legit Streetcars. It's an American guy who does up cars, and he did a DeLorean. He got a wrecked one from a barn, been in the barn 30 years, and he did a nauseating, detailed restoration. It was great. Now my YouTube algorithm, I am bombarded with DeLorean restorations. And the reason there are so many of them is because in the 1980s, they went bankrupt. Yeah. People couldn't get parts. They put them in their barns. Then there are loads of parts companies that make DeLorean and had bought all the DeLorean spare parts from the factories in Northern Ireland. And you can get parts really easily for them. And so now people are restoring them. So there's fucking loads of barn restorations of DeLoreans. And my timeline is full of people doing them. Anyway.
What I particularly like is Bob Gale, who wrote Back to the Future, and Robert Zemeckis, the two Bobs who directed it. Like, both of them have said no more Back to the Futures. That's it.
Yeah, you've got to stop.
I was thinking about this.
Park back again.
As much as I loved seeing Pulp, and it was really nice seeing Pulp.
Yeah.
Like, there's a certain mystique about the Beatles that they never came back. I think they would have done in the 90s. Definitely, with Oasis and everything. A bit pop.
They did release a track last year.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. But I mean, if John Lennon hadn't been assassinated by an American, I think they would have definitely reformed in the 90s.
Yeah.
And would that have taken a bit of the magic away?
Tricky.
One of the things is that they're intangible now. They're not there anymore. They're something that
the Stones still are. I think. I know. I hear you. I think it'd be interesting. I think we always wondered if the Beatles would. It's like ABBA, isn't it? Will ABBA ever go back and do a
Yeah. But they
sort of have.
They'll ever do a sequel to Back to the Future, and
Bob
Gale and Bob Zemeckis both said over our dead bodies. So if they die, there's a chance that we might actually get another one.
I'd be ashamed if they did. I think it's like as I say, Jurassic Park's making a comeback, and they've really flogged that one.
They flogged that dead dinosaur. Drop the dead dinosaur. I wouldn't want more Back to the Future, to be honest with you.
Another plot hole then. This is a bit of a weird one. So Die Hard. So the plot hole, and this is on all the sites, even though I hadn't really thought this was a plot hole, is that the whole reason that they dress up as to get in and is to rob the safe. And the reason that they do make all the noise and they cut is so that they cut the power, which means they opens the safe if the power is cut to the building. And the plot hole is, well, why didn't they just cut the power themselves and go to the grid and just send a little squad off and cut the that's the plot hole. That they all that they could have just robbed the safe anytime. They just needed to cut that, like the power to the building needed to be cut, and therefore they should have just they could have just
because they needed to
it's
get
listed on 4 sites as a plot hole.
But that's not a plot hole. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because there were lots of layers of security that they had to get to before they got to the last one, which required the power to off. The power had been turned off before they got to
the other ones were easy. The other ones were easy.
Yeah, but they needed power. They needed. He was, the black guy on the computer was like going, and the quarterback is toast. Do you know before Die Hard, no one referred to someone dying as being toast? It was the first time. Yeah, first time it was ever referred to as being toast. I keep going out of focus. Sorry, everyone.
Okay, so we're not calling that a plot hole. That's officially.
I think that's a plot hole.
Okay, it was on 4 sides.
Watch the movie. Watch them.
Right. Gravity.
The gravity and gravity. The fact that she travels 1,000 miles from one space station to the other by floating.
Well, there are a lot of. So the bit where George Clooney didn't need to die because he was like, "Oh, I'm floating away," and he wasn't floating away, and she could have pulled and he'd have come, but he was like, "Oh, there's no force pulling him away," but because it was gravity, it's gravity free, and he's floating in space, but he's floating away. Oh no, you must save yourself. But she could have just got dunked and he'd have gone. So she could have saved him, and he knew he could have been saved, but he needed to die to make so she was on her own. So that's why but he didn't scientifically he didn't need to die in that situation.
Yeah.
Again, that appeared a lot, and people were very angry at physicists and spacey people not happy.
Yeah.
Okay, so no reason to die, but hey, there we go. The other one that came up in all the sites, and this is like been done to death. End of Titanic. He could have got onto the door and he could have been saved, and Rose let him drown, and she sat on the door and said, Jack, come back, bye.
So,
bye, come back. Gotta stay down.
There is a video available on YouTube where James Cameron works with a bunch of people in a swimming pool with a door to see what configuration would make sense.
Yeah.
One of the issues was that if you have both of them on the door, they'll be slightly below the water. The water's freezing cold.
Yeah.
She might have been all right. They could have cuddled, maybe, sitting on the door, slightly under the water, but they didn't know how long they would be before they got rescued. With her lying on the door, it meant she was completely out the water, which is the big thing that you need to be with you don't want to get hypothermia. And she had her life vest on, and she had a much better chance of surviving. So he sacrificed himself, even though there is an outside chance they could have.
They might have done. And also, I mean, the other thing they could have done, they were in the smoking room at the back. They met Thomas Anders, who just met the clock, and they were at the back, and they could have just pulled a wooden paddling off the smoking room wall and chucked it in the sea, and could have stripped the whole room and just chucked it in. Might have been more bit of wooden panels, but somebody said to why did he have to die? And he said, because the script says he has to die, and that's what I'm shooting, and that's what he said. That was
not really argue with that. I mean, it's effective. It's a tearjerker. James Cameron was asked what could they have done to save more people, and there's a thing about them not having enough lifeboats, which
well, they launched a lot of them half empty and things. They were tested for 78, but they could have loaded them with 100.
Yes. Also, they were designed so that the ship was designed to take a long time to sink, which it did.
Yeah.
And they were designed to ferry people over to the rescue ship. They were never designed to get everybody onto the ship.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, the question James Cameron was asked was like, what would you have done? He said, well, you might have been able to get on the iceberg.
Yeah, put them on the iceberg. That's right. I heard that. Or run the ship backwards. Lots of so the water wasn't going in under pressure, but there were loads of other weird, steam like mad.
Maybe when you're building in traps for the water to go in, maybe build them all the way to the top and don't leave a little gap at the top. So once the chamber's full, it goes into the next chamber.
Well, that's what happened, wasn't it? The watertight doors didn't go up anyway as far as E deck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he could have steamed towards, because the Californian sat there with its radio switched off, and and they were 10 miles away. Could have steamed towards it a bit more. I don't know. What would throw all the furniture into the sea, go and throw all the panels into the sea, throw all the tables into the sea, throw every fucking thing into the sea.
All the fat people.
Well, I'd have been
off my ship.
Well, the baker survived because he drank all that whiskey and then fell into the sea. And he was, but okay, Lara Croft.
Where do we start? Is this the first one or the second one? Cradle of Life.
It's the one about the one called with the triangle, Hunt for the Triangle, the thing that's going to eclipse the secret weapon that's going to eclipse the Earth and kill everybody. And the two halves, one's in Cambodia and one's in Siberia.
Yeah,
it's that one. Which one that? So
the first one.
It's the Eclipse. The Eclipse. It is Eclipse. Film's called. Oh no, I can't remember. Who knows? Anyway. The point was these two, there were two bits. She gets the one in Cambodia and then she has to head to Siberia to get the other one to stop the weapon being formed. But she's got the first part. So she could have just destroyed it, thrown it in the sea. And the second half of the film didn't need to be made. But that was
that's just lazy writing. I mean, come on. Tomb Raider is not a particularly well-written movie. Can we jump into some of the chat? Because we've got loads of people who are all chatting.
People saying about
Brexit makes no sense. Fair enough.
Exit does not make any sense.
Invaders, Indy does everything to stop getting the Ark, and they got it anyway. I've read that one. One thing that always bugged me was Halloween. How does Michael Myers know how to drive? That's from Tommy. We covered that one. In the final countdown, where the modern US Navy aircraft goes back to the Pacific just prior to Pearl Harbor, one of the serving commanders is also an old man before the ship goes back in time. Also, like, Doc Brown in Back to the Future doesn't age.
Countdown's a great film.
Just put a little bit of wrinkles around his eyes.
I saw that when I was very young.
If Indy hadn't intervened, the Ark would have gone straight to Berlin. Belloc was able to co-opt the sub because he had disrupted the Nazi plan. Very good point. But then they would have opened it in front of Hitler.
Yay!
Job's a good one. But then whoever closed it would be like, oh, fuck. Let's close it. How does he know to close his eyes?
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. Close your eyes, don't look at it.
There was a scene in the script where he's talking to the old man who deciphers the medallion that he gets in Nepal from Marion's place. And the old guy says, before they leave, he says, if you ever, don't look into the Ark because your face will melt off or something. Words to that effect. And they go, okay, that's how he knows to keep his eyes.
The eyes of Medusa will turn your heart to stone. Right. Okay then. Oh, any more?
Plot hole, billions of dollars on biotech to bring back dinosaurs and billions on a holiday resort, yet no emergency power supply. Who was the health and safety inspector, says Simon Smith.
Yeah.
Very good point. I mean, is this a plot hole? I don't know. But I've got to say, in Ghostbusters, Walter Peck's got a point. They have an unregulated nuclear reactor in the middle of Manhattan.
Yep.
No!
Yeah.
You're not going to allow the Iranians to have that halfway around the world. You're going to allow some fucking mad scientists to have it in Manhattan. And Peck is seen as the bad guy, because
he's the bad guy.
It's such a Reagan film.
This man has no dick.
It's a Reagan era film because the guy from the EPA is the baddie. And the guys who are literally, with the white collar billionaires, they're the good guys. Indeed. Anyway, so go on. What else have we got?
Armageddon.
It's the end of the world. Armageddon out of here.
So again, it appeared on all four sites. The fact was that you wouldn't. And it was explained by Bruce Willis. You could teach astronauts how to fly shuttles. They know how to live in space. They can do calculus. They can do maths. They're most of them are fighter pilots. Why the fuck can't they drill a hole in the ground? I mean, that was the plot hole. Yeah. But Bruce went, I've drilled on every continent, 18 continents and 400. I haven't worked it all out. I can't teach you how to drill a hole on a rock so he sort of says that to them, but everybody got angry. Astronauts can drill a hole in the ground.
I'm with Bruce Willis on this one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm thinking? It's all well and good, telling someone how to do a stream like this, but until they actually do it, they're not going to be able to work out all the things that go wrong and be there straight away to go.
Mike did on Friday. Mike did a great job.
Yeah, Mike did a very good job. Well done, Mike.
We love Mike.
But yeah, very, very talented man. We love Mike. The ship was designed with enough lifeboats, but White Star didn't want them sitting on the decks.
Yeah, they were
So it's gonna-
unsightly. They're unsightly.
Dark 4x4, they couldn't run the engines as it was forcing water to enter faster, and they thought the ship could also see them and the distress flares.
Yep.
They thought it was fireworks, didn't they?
They did. Yeah, the Californian thought it was.
Yeah.
Also, it may, the conspiracy was that it was the Olympic sinking, and they did it on purpose for insurance because it had broken its back when it was hit by the Hawk, and they swapped all the propellers and the serial numbers and the plates and the cutlery, and they wanted to sink the Olympic.
It's actually a hologram, and all the people on board were put in a warehouse in Area 51. Jurassic World. Everyone's going on about this. Bryce Dallas Howard running in fucking high heels from a T-Rex. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a case of a plot hole, rather a ridiculous moment of suspension of disbelief.
Well, there's also the thing about stand still. T-Rexes can't see you if you're not moving, and then of course they throw that away in the later films.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
So it gets thrown away. Okay.
Hang on. We got the message coming from Chris C. Mythbusters proved that Jack and Rose could have both survived on the door if they had used the life vests underneath the door.
Well,
and Cameron responded that Jack had to die.
Would
you have thought about it in the moment?
I don't know. Under stress, I can be very imaginative.
What's the name of the town that they end up in Shawshank Redemption, the beachside place?
On the beach. You're gonna know it, obviously.
Nobody knows. Nobody remembers the name of it because he goes, "You remember the name of that place, don't you?" I've seen that movie 100 times. I haven't got a fucking clue. They want a mayor. They want a Deo.
Montevideo-ish something.
They want a
Milton Keynes.
They want a Zigga.
Yeah.
There's also a plot hole that they say in Shawshank, which is that Red at the end, he's walking down, to look for the rock, the volcanic rock.
Black Rock.
The under which Andy's left a message for.
No business being there.
Spoken like a true geologist. And it's clearly like different seasons have passed. Like there's one where the leaves aren't on the trees, another one where the crops have got flowers on. I don't know. But apparently that's because he went back there a lot to try and find this fucking box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. There you go.
And plus it's from a book called Different Seasons. So maybe it's a nod on the wing to that.
We did. We've got 3 more. The Living Daylights.
Living Daylights.
Hello, it is a horror. So the door killing plot. So 007 says, "I'll meet you at the circus in 2 hours." You go to Algiers where the guy goes, "Kill another British agent," and the guy goes, "Right, got you." And the guy knows to go straight to the fun fair, decides to kill him with the sliding door, knows how the mechanism works, puts the mechanism in. The guy walks through at exactly the right time. And the door gets him.
That freaked me out about automatic doors for a very long time after seeing that movie at the cinema.
It's just like it. Even I watched it weirdly before I read about this.
Yeah,
we watched it because we're watching all the Bond films at the moment. We're on Daniel Craig's now, but we've been watching them from the start. And when we got to this, I went, "That's a bit specific, to be there at that time and to know how the mechanism works to make the door flick." I mean, it's I don't know.
There's also a bit of a plot hole in Spectre, which is a movie that I hate, but like they set up at this base in Morocco somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And there's your man from Inglourious Bastards, and he's like, I'm Ernst Stavros Blofeld. I've been expecting you, Bond. I've made this special thing so I can torture you in this specific way. But hang on, he sent his fucking henchman on the train to kill James Bond.
Yeah.
So what was his plan? Was it like, "Oh, you better kill him, and then I've set all this stuff up so I can torture him and do all these horrible things to him"?
Yeah. True. And then he blows it all up. I mean, as he always does, he blows everything up.
Blows everything up.
And then I think, and the big problem with the Daniel Craig films, and I love the Daniel Craig films before he has a go at me, is that number 1, Casino Royale, Mr. White. Number 2, you don't know who we are. You're never going to find us. Number 3, we are Spectre. We are everywhere. Number 4, come along. Number 5, he wipes Spectre out, plot hole, in about 5 seconds. This new guy pops up, the most the guy that I could beat
Yeah.
in number 5, who is really easy to defeat, wipes out Spectre, the most powerful nation, criminal organization on the planet, and wipes them all out in
Surely
one.
it must be difficult to wipe out an entire international terrorist organization. No?
Not really.
Super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit annoying.
By Freddie Mercury villain, but
Pete has just hit a plot hole that I've often thought about. Why don't the rebels shoot a starship traveling at light speed through the Death Star? Even better, why didn't the Empire shoot an unmanned, a droid-filled ship into a planet?
yeah,
Because if you think about the size of the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs, wiped the dinosaurs out, the non-avian dinosaurs, like they're fucking big ships. What are they called? The Star Destroyers. They're bigger than that.
yeah.
Like just crash it into a planet at light speed. That's it. Everyone's dead. Everyone on the planet is. Every living thing on that planet is dead.
Yeah. Yeah, you just get one to the end of its life. It's not going to pass the next MOT. We can use this as a weapon and run it into a planet now.
Yeah.
So,
Jenny wants to know, why was the technology far superior in Star Wars episodes 1 to 3 than the technology was in episodes 4 to 6? Thank you very much to Jenny Robinson for that. The excuse kind of given is that like the 1 to 3 is kind of like the High Republic, so everything's all nice and sort of shiny. It's like the 1920s, and then it's 20 years later. It's supposed to be during the war, like the Second World War, and everything's sort of cobbled together from a junkyard. Which is funny because when Industrial Light and Magic were originally designing the starships, they literally just went to the junkyard and just grabbed what they could and stuck it all together and made a spaceship out of it.
I saw an episode of, I think it's on Enterprise, where they go back to the alternate universe and they steal a Galaxy class Captain Kirk ship. So it looks like and you go on and he looks like Captain Kirk's ship, but when you go down to the panels with the big red bulby 60s lights on, they're actually really deep. There are digital displays on there and they're actually really complicated. So it makes that technology look not as clunky and not as far in the past. So I thought it was quite a nice little touch just to bring the technologies together.
But yeah, the sort of, I guess the excuse in Star Wars is that your peacetime spaceships are nice, but your wartime spaceships are all beaten up and shit. But then that's undermined by the fact that the Millennium Falcon makes an appearance in Star Wars Episode 3.
But they did that back to Star Trek. The Defiant, which is in Deep Space Nine, was built to fight the Dominion and built to fight the Borg. And all the cabins in that, they're not like Voyager with nice lamps and coffee tables. They're just bunks, and they're all small. And it's like, this is a military ship. This ship was built for fighting. And it's like, oh, okay.
One Angry Pagan says, Highlander plot hole. Ramirez tells McLeod that if the Kurgan wins, there'll be an eternity of darkness. Untrue. If Kurgan did get the prize, he'll have become mortal just like Connor did. Yes, but he didn't just become mortal. He connected with all humans. He could feel all humans in the world. The implication being that if he wanted to do a Trump,
turn us all dark.
Stupid. If he was Clancy Brown, he would have just done a Trump and
hello, New York.
In Fight Club, this is from Tommy Lee. So the narrator, stroke Jack, is constantly talking to himself in public. No one says anything, nor does he end up being institutionalized. In the book, he does. In the book, sorry, spoilers for the book, he ends up in a institution at the end, and one of the porters or janitors, cleaners, whatever, just says to him, at the end, the operation's still on, still on, Mr. Durden. Wink, wink. But the fact that he shoots himself. Sorry, spoilers. At the end of the movie, he shoots himself in the head and he doesn't fucking die. Like, what? And he can still talk. He's just blowing his jaw off.
No.
And he's like, you met me a very strange time in my life. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Last two films then. The next one. Okay. On Her Majesty's Secret Service. George Lazenby.
Yeah.
James Bond. He meets Telly Savalas in Pisadora on top of the hill. Oh, hello. He's obviously pretending to be a heraldry, blah, 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 to come and do Blofed's time. But they've met before. In You Only Live Twice. So he already knows what Bond looks like. Just saying.
No, but he doesn't, because he's got a new face, hasn't he?
Yeah, but
Mhm.
I mean, but then he's not Donald Pleasance either, is he? So he's not.
Yes.
He's technically,
Shapeshifters. Time Lords. Time Lords.
yeah,
Blofeld and James Bond are Time Lords. It makes everything make sense.
yeah.
One other thing saying, but Ramirez implies that Kurgan would continue to be immortal.
No.
Maybe. Maybe they got a wish. Maybe that was it. At the end, they just got one wish. And Connor McLeod, or the Clan McLeod, his wish was to be mortal.
My name is Connor McLeod.
It was his heart's true desire.
It's a kind of magic.
He was sick of seeing his loved ones die.
There's no time.
The curse of living forever. Christie says one plot hole I never understood was in Star Trek Insurrection, when Picard was told about the regenerative effects of the radiation, and he asked the young lad if he was 112 years old, and the lad says no.
Yeah, the kid says, "No, I'm 8."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anne says, I did see a fellow in a documentary once who shot himself in the head due to listening to some violent music. He survived telltale. Not sure how, but it does happen. Yeah, I know. But I mean, yeah, you'll need some, I think you'll need some medical assistance. You won't be standing there watching the skyscrapers blow up. Nope. And he says, the problem is that when there's an unreliable narrator, like in Fight Club, there can be a plot hole. Yes. That is a good way of getting out of it, actually. Unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
He's actually telling the truth because he's narrating the story. And I always like that when you have a story that is told through the eyes of a character.
Yeah.
And that sorts a lot of plot holes up. It sews a lot of plot holes up because you can explain it like, no, they're an unreliable narrator. That was the truth from their point of view. Yeah. Which I think is an even bigger plot hole in Star Wars. The fact that Darth Vader was his dad and fucking Kenobi, who's this honorable Jedi Knight, fucking lies to the kid and says, "Oh no, he killed your dad."
Yeah, yeah, it's a bit tricksy. I mean, Red was the narrator in Shawshank, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You're the long time living and you're long time dying.
We liked Andy from the start. I will say though that in Star Wars, in my Star Wars prequel trilogy, Obi-Wan Kenobi's a bit of a dick. And that's more of the reason why Anakin turns to the dark side. It's Obi-Wan Kenobi's fault because
in Blue Harvest they have him as a paedophile. Yeah, in the Family Guy. Not great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So last one, and then anybody else who wants to suggest any, that would be great. But National Treasure. I know.
The whole thing's a plot hole.
I know.
What specifically?
It came out on 4. So he has to steal the Declaration of Independence. Yes. Remember?
Yeah, and he got the map on the back of the treasure.
And the map on the back. And he says, and when he gets it, he reads it and he goes, "We the people." And he says, "We the people." But that's not the Declaration of Independence. That's the Constitution. The Declaration of Independence starts with "when in the course of human events." So he read. There you go.
That's quite a corker. That's quite a corker,
right? I did not know that, but that's
okay. Here's a plot hole for you. Superman, Clark Kent. He takes his glasses off. No one recognizes him. Fuck off.
Hello, look. I'm completely different. Look, hello.
Batman, plot hole in Batman Begins. Oh, no, sorry, Batman Dark Knight. The Dark Knight with the Joker. Joker turns up at a party at Bruce Wayne's place when Catwoman's there to steal some stuff and whatever. And he chucks someone out the window. I think it's, what's her name? Maggie Gyllenhaal gets chucked out the window. And the quick change into the Batman costume, jumps and saves her. And then just cuts away to like the next day.
Yeah.
Fucking Joker is still up there with all the people at the party. And we never find out what happens. It just cuts away. It's like just standing there sort of looking down and oh, she got rescued. Well, that's a bit embarrassing. Anyway, have a nice party. Bye.
There are a load of Batman plot holes. The other one with Bone imprisons the police force for 3 months underground, and when they all release, they all come up and their uniforms are pristine and they're all clean shaven.
Yeah,
and they don't. None of them are.
Plot hole for The Quiet Place. A Quiet Place. So spoilers for A Quiet Place. If you haven't seen it. Is that the aliens can be killed with feedback essentially. I mean, these aliens find where you are through sound.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I thought of was, well, blast them with fucking sound then, because they've got these really sensitive ears that they can fucking hear this stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you make a really loud noise at them at a particular frequency, which happens to be the feedback frequency of hearing aids, something that I hear quite a lot because Catherine has to wear hearing aids all the time, and if you go anywhere near them, they make that feedback noise. And that to me was a huge plot hole, because someone would have thought of that. Come on, the army would have had a big weapon, like in Biggles. They would have had a big, like, sonic weapon. They were just fired at the aliens.
They did that sort of thing. It was back to Star Trek in the last Calvin universe, Chris Pine one, where they're going to fight the aliens, and there are millions of alien ships, but they're all linked together.
Yeah, so they play the Beastie Boys.
Rock and roll, yeah. Beastie Boys.
Sabotage. Yeah.
That's a great scene, though.
And then you got the Spider-Man, the fact he swings around without his mask on, and no one notices quite a lot. Everyone's got a camera on their phone, but no one gets him. And Genie says that he can't kill people. We can't wish to kill people, but he turns Jafar into a genie, which traps him eternally. Is that not death? No, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. What else have we got? The Walking Dead. How the hell do the zombies? Because they're slow moving zombies and Walking Dead. How do they catch up with people? Like, seriously, piss off. Lost plot holes that were never explained. The numbers, which
the ending
8, 14, 15, 23, 42, something like that. 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42. And they added up to 108. Never explained. The statue with 4 toes, never really explained. The polar bear, a little bit, because they were doing experiments, but why would you bring a polar bear to a tropical island? That just seems like... The hatch was explained because there was a nuclear explosion in the 70s. Game of Thrones, just the end. Bran becomes king for literally no reason.
Yeah.
The Queen goes mad for no reason. Arya doesn't use any of her skills that she learnt being a faceless man assassin.
I mean, Elise was just my favorite character. She's pretty. There's the great meme with the cigarette fucking told you meme on the Blue Sky and Facebook and all those ones. That's been doing the rounds up forever. She's really good. She frees the slave. She builds an army. They're all loyal. She's just a pain.
And then she turns bad for no reason at the end.
She turns nuts at the end.
Can I tell you my ending of Game of Thrones? Right. Yeah. So the crypts at Winterfell, they've kept all of the Starks down there, and so when the zombies come over the wall, the Starks come back to life. The dead Starks from like all the years gone by, and you've got like Ned Stark's headless fucking corpse attacking the zombies, so the zombie armies are fighting each other. There's they managed to take out the zombies, but not enough of them, and then the army gets even bigger because every time the zombies, the White Walkers, the others, every time that they kill people, they can bring them back to life, and they march down to King's Landing, right, where Cersei is pregnant. And she's up in the tower, and the zombies get close enough to the tower, and there's a big battle going on with the dragons fighting the zombies and all this kind of stuff. And they go up to the tower keep, and she's locked herself in a room, like a strong room that the zombies can't get in. And she's been injured, so she's like staggering up the stairs, and she goes into the chamber. She locks all the doors, and there's some kind of magic there, like this fire, the green fire that they have. And the zombies can't get past it. The White Walkers can't get past it. It's too hot. And she's got this, and she's protected by this ring of fire. And she's like, "Fuck you, man! You can't take me because I'm surrounded by this ring of fire." But she's been injured. Obviously, she's pregnant, and the baby's died inside her. And the White Walker goes, and the baby eats its way out of her. Oh. And that's how she dies, by the little brother.
That is a gruesome ending. It's gruesome.
Wouldn't that be fucking brilliant, though? Someone get George R. R. Martin. It's all right, mate. I'll finish it. I'm getting a phone call here from Ben fucking... Why is Ben calling me? What do you want? Oh, man. Here we go. This will be funny. Should I call him back and put it on speakerphone?
He's probably got a plot.
Here we go.
Hey,
Hello, what's up?
quick question. I'm in the Chinese. You have to pick one of those options for the kids' box. Either chicken nuggets, sausage, chicken wings, chicken balls, or spare
Chicken
ribs.
balls, chicken nuggets, chicken nuggets.
Right, can I have the chicken nuggets one, please? That's right. Yeah, be
Yeah.
around about 15, right?
Okay, see you soon, Ben. Bye. Ben's
Wow.
coming round. Me, Ben, and the little one are going to watch Flow. You know, the animation that won the Best Picture Oscar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's a plan for the evening.
My wife's making me meatballs and pasta with a bottle of fizz. There you go.
Nice. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but you've turned it. What is an enchanting series of power in a mystical world into a zombie film in the last 5
Well, they
minutes.
are zombies. I mean, it's
They're daywalkers. I mean,
it's
they're
the zombie apocalypse.
yeah, but well, no, you've suddenly
The good guys win. The good guys win in the end, but Cersei's not a good guy.
No, she's not.
But I just thought it'd be really cool to have this magic, and she's surrounded by this fucking magic, and they're like, you know, she's got the mountain who's been resurrected. So it's like, I've got Frankenstein. And basically Frankenstein's fighting the fucking the baddie. And the way I would have taken out the Ice King, right, the Night King, is he would have been there with his lieutenant next to him, and he finally looks out and he gets to the fucking the throne or something, the Iron Throne, and he's like, haha, we did it, Mr. Lieutenant. And the lieutenant goes, yeah, we did. Isn't that awesome? Stabs him with the knife that they used, the Children of the Forest used to make the Night King in the first place, the magic knife. And he goes, oh, why have you killed me? And then the lieutenant pulls the face off, and it's Arya. She was a faceless man, wasn't she?
Was one of the assassins.
So that's what I would have done there. But the zombies wouldn't have all died. I hated the fact that once the lead zombie guy, the Night King, once he died, they all just deactivated like fucking Daleks. I hate that. I hate that so much. I hated it in Star Wars Episode 1 where they destroy the command ship. Oh, this is like pod racing. No, it's not, you little shit. They blow up the one ship and all the robots go, ooh. We know it's a universe of autonomous robots. And it's like, what if the Bluetooth goes down? Oh, well, they just all turn off. In the middle of a battle. Do you not see that might be a little bit of a problem? You know I've ever thought this, don't you? But
yeah, that's okay. I mean, there were two other things like occurred to me. Battlestar Galactica, how did Starbuck come back? They never really explained why
no,
she was.
Because she totally died. And then she came back.
Then she comes back. And she finds her own
body.
body.
She disappears.
Like, oh, there's my body. There's my body in the Viper.
What am I?
See that is.
And then she gets into Earth and then she disappears over a hill. Anne, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. I hope he's bringing enough for all of us, says Anne.
I'll have some sweet and sour balls, please. Thank you very much. There's another plot hole that came up on a couple of the lists was Capricorn 1, but it was, you'd have to be a bit nerdy. And it was, the fact was, you know, you see the spaceship sitting on the top of the rocket and it's just a Saturn rocket, right?
Yeah.
And it goes, well, if you were they were on Mars for 6 months. The Saturn rocket couldn't have taken anything that they were going to live on for 6 months to Mars. They would need pods, they need oxygen, they need food. And it was a Saturn 1 rocket, and it was like, oh, you couldn't have really. It's a little. I mean, anyway,
there's a point that they make in, you know, when they're talking about debunking the moon, the moon landing conspiracy bullshit.
Yeah,
and they say, well, if it was filmed in the studio, then the shadows will converge. You need a light source that's 93 million miles away, so the shadows are all in a straight line.
Yeah.
They could have just used the sun. Because there is a process, even when you're using film, day for night shooting, where they shoot during the day, but they make the print look dark. I don't think they would have got away with it.
Yeah.
I would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you pesky kids.
But it's also, the flag is sticking out. There's no wind on the moon. There was a metal strip along the top,
and it would keep on waving because there's nothing. You know, you put it in place. There's no wind. It's not flapping in the wind.
In fact, the flag fell over. I was watching what's on the.
When they took off.
It's sad. What's on the Apollo 11 site? Where's they blasted off the flag fell over.
The flag fell over. Yeah.
So,
I'll say that Deadpool has plot holes, but knowing Ryan Reynolds, he probably put them there on purpose. Yes, I think he absolutely did. In the Wizard of Oz, in a world of munchkins and humans are a minority, why are the buildings human-sized?
Ooh, good one.
Good question. Thor: The Dark World plot hole. Despite Odin saying that ether is one of the most powerful artifacts in the universe, it's unable to do any damage to Thor at all. Yeah, because Thor's a god.
Oh, yeah. There was Endgame, Marvel. He goes click. Yeah. You can't click in the giant metal glove.
Chris is saying that. Chris says that we should be worried about me because of my fucked up imagination.
Well, the baby.
Come on, is that any worse than some of the shit that was in? I mean, that bit where they poured some bloody molten metal on that poor guy's head. That stayed with me for years afterwards. I had PTSD over that scene.
Yeah,
and then when he popped Oberon's bloody head open. Oh, God, no.
That was brutal.
Did not need to see that. So, yeah. Tommy says, fried chicken and barbecue ribs would be my ultimate combo. Kind of fitting considering my name is from the southern states of America. Well, there you go. I love ribs. Love some ribs.
Really are.
Tommy's saying KFC for Tommy tonight.
KFC is I'm coming back from a club and I'm absolutely ravenous. KFC is the cure.
Sherlock is mid-series death was never explained.
Yeah.
But then it wasn't in the fucking books either. When they brought him back after the Victim Back Falls, he just came back, and it's also, you fell down a fucking waterfall, mate.
But also just to battle. I'm not ruining Battlestar Galactica ending, so if you haven't heard it, stick your fingers in your ears. But the fact is that they get to when they arrive at Earth, and he's like, and he looks at his father, Adama, and says, "Not this time. We're not taking the technology." Not this time. And he goes, oh, all right, then. So they all go down with a sack of spuds each. And it's like, and all the technology is launched into the sun. He's like, no medicines, no, so they're all going to land there. Most of them are going to die.
Yeah.
First winter or they don't know how to grow food. They haven't got a year's supply of food. And they've all got a sack. They've only got one sack and they launch it all off. And that it's like, what? And anything. And they're saying, we've got to break the cycle of civilization, AI, end of civilization. But we know that that's exactly what happens because the ending is him standing in New York with the robots in the windows of the shops going, and it's beginning again. So that didn't work. So it was like, it was really unsatisfactory ending. I mean, it was like, it didn't fix anything and he didn't break the cycle.
No. And they had the robots coming out of that montage at the end. Jesus, dear God. Something that, like, there's a really, really awful Marvel movie called The Eternals. Please don't watch it. It is so bad that Rob Stark at one point, before the end of the movie, goes, fuck this film. I am literally going to fly into the sun rather than be in this movie any longer. And the idea is that the Earth is an egg and these things called the Celestials are born out of the egg, right? And they destroy everything on the planet when this happens, right? So the Celestial starts to be born. So there's this big robot thing coming out, with its 8 eyes, coming out of the sea, right? And they manage to stop it, but it's still there like this. This huge fucking thing that's the size of the planet, whatever, right? The Three Gorges Dam in China, right, holds back enough water, several trillion gallons of water. It has actually slowed the Earth's rotation. And that's just a fucking dam. It's not a celestial bursting out of the earth. Like, the devastating effects are just mind-blowing. Another quick honourable mention, Independence Day, because you mentioned it before. And I think Armageddon make this mistake as well. There's a few of them where they show people celebrating all over the world, and it's daytime everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yay, we saved the world! Yes, now it's constantly daylight. No more nighttime to worry about, somehow.
Even at the Return of the End of the Jedi, they went to different planets, and they were different. It was night or day in some of those planets. Yeah. Even they got that right.
That makes more sense, yeah.
That's a good point.
And Philip said, saw some trailer details. It's fucking awful. No matter how bad you think the Eternals is going to be, it is somehow even worse. Superman 2, when Superman is fighting Zod, Ursa, and Non in his fortress, he plays a game with them where he moves to one spot at another high speed. He mentions he played this as a child. How? Yeah, because he was a baby when he left Gallifrey. So that doesn't make any sense at all. Yes, I know it's Krypton.
Good one. I like that. Yeah.
I had to stop my sister telling me from Game of Thrones. One thing I didn't stop her. She still upsets me. My son watched it, but I knew better than tell me about it. Yeah, there's some really fucked up things in Lord of the Rings. Sorry, in Game of Thrones, like really quite brutally violent sequences.
Yeah, definitely.
What you just said about that dam just blew my mind, Graham. That's wild. Yeah, slowed it down a tiny amount, but it still had an effect on the Earth. And I think we could do one of these episodes with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and we could go through all the mad shit that happens in movies. But before we go, I'm just going to say the core. If you want to watch a movie that defies
I love the core.
all physics, all known laws of physics, watch the core, in which they're hunting for the It's okay.
Stanley Tucci, I love him.
What's the name of the stuff that coats the ship? What's it called? Unobtainium, which is the mineral that they were robbing from Pandora in Avatar. Unobtainium. See what we did there?
We talked about this the other week. The bit where he sacrificed. Stanley Tucci is having a cigarette and he's dictating to himself, and he's just about to die, and he goes, "What the fuck am I doing?"
One Angry Pagan says, "I like the Eternals. The guy who flies into the sun is called Icarus." Yeah, I don't care. I just it's like, fuck this movie. I'm gonna literally fly into the sun, and that was the only thing that made me laugh in that whole film. Anyway, so there you go. Right. Anne says she doesn't like graphic violence, which, you know, I'm not a big fan of that. I tend to do this a lot.
I don't watch horror. I'm too old for horror. I live in an old house in the middle of nowhere, and when my wife's not here, horror films are something I don't want to have memories of. So everything I watch is fluffy or sci-fi.
I'm going to watch Flow.
I don't watch Event Horizon.
I'm going to watch Flow now and look out for some plot holes. Do you know what, we could probably talk another an hour on this stuff, because there's a lot of them, but I really need to go. There's going to be a knock on my door in about 2 seconds time with our Chinese food. So, Rachel, thank you so much tonight for being my co-host here on the Rabbit Hole.
Thank you to the socialites. Thank you,
socialites. Yeah. You're all awesome. Thank you for the super chats. They are very, very much appreciated. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock with Morning Brew. And until then, hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye. Bye.